Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another show, another week of Birds of a Feather live on A2D. We are coming at you on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and we are downloadable podcast form on Apple Podcast and Stitcher. Hashtag hair flip Kevin. I was like, why are you guys talking when this show is about to start? But it's you got myself as usual, Chucks. You got Kevin Godwin over here. You got Mr. Pete Evans, who actually has his actual name listed on his little avatar here. And then we got Brodo, like always, on the ones and twos in the background. And as you can see, there is no Chrome again. He's still occupied with family. What's the word I'm looking for? Family
Matters.
commitments.
Commitments, yeah.
Stuff like that. He hopes to be back on next week. I know all of you miss him. We all miss him too, and he has a lot to say. But he will be back hopefully next week. So in the meantime, you've got us three. No more Tom. Our draft series is over. It is finished. We had 5 weeks full of the draft, which was great. It was a lot of fun. And we are now back to our regularly scheduled program with your usual panel. And as always, we are brought to you by our doc. He is named Mr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC. Find them in Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. And we're also brought to you by Ambox Services Gutter Cleaning for rotted board replacement, deck installation, and restoration, tree trimming, and other gutter-related services. Call 856-879-5530 or visit them at amboxservices.com. Our poll question, guys, and it has to do with the breaking news that we got last night, the shocker. The question is, the Eagles must re-sign Jason Peters after the Brandon Brooks injury. Agree or disagree? We've got a lot to talk about, a lot of ramifications to go over and discuss. As you all know, Brandon Brooks tore his Achilles, and he is out for the 2020 season. That is a huge blow to the Eagles roster. He was one of the best, if not the best, offensive linemen that the Eagles had last season. And to lose him, it's going to have its effects. And we will definitely get into that as we go along. We'll also touch on the rest of the roster. We'll do a little roster projection for 2020, see who we feel is going to make the roster, who's on the fringe, who might be the odd man out on the practice squad, and all that. We'll also go around the league, touch on news from around the league, and finish with any other news from around the bare minimal sports world we got with our No Huddle segment. So, Pete, Kevin, let's go to Pete first, because this is obviously devastating news with Brandon Brooks out. Mm-hmm. Give your initial thoughts and then answer the poll question. Do you think, because of this injury, do you feel like the Eagles need to sign Jason Peters?
Well, first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to Brandon Brooks for giving light-skinned brothers some athleticism at a very high level. He is definitely 1A behind Quentin Nelson as far as guards in the league. I do agree with the poll, but not just because not of his injury itself. But I want Jason Peters back just overall depth. And we talked about it a little bit last night in our thread to see if maybe Dillard can play guard, but I can't really think of anybody else that can come in for a 1-year stopgap and play right guard for you other than Jason Peters. I know Warford is out there. He made the Pro Bowl a couple of years, but there's a reason why he's still available in free agency. And hell, there's a reason why Jason Peters is still available in free agency too. You know what I mean? So we can't forget that. We can't overlook that. So I agree to the poll, but something else has to come with it, because Brandon Brooks at right guard, and it's not just really him. Obviously, we can all echo how good he is. in this league. But when you look at just that right side of the line, that was one of the sections of your team, and he was ahead of schedule anyway from his injury last year. That you look at, you like, you know what? We don't have to worry about from the center on down to the right hand side. You had Jason Kelsey, you had Brandon Brooks, you had Lane Johnson. That's good. That's solid. That's one of the best strengths on our team. And now when you take out that middle piece, I mean, I understand that you can hide people at guard, but it's still a huge blow to the Eagles. Still a huge blow to the Eagles. Where I don't even think Jason Peters can fill that void, but he can help. He definitely could help.
Kevin, what you got?
Yeah, for me, I disagree. I don't think that he's a must sign right now. I think that I think it's a band-aid, and I don't think it's a good band-aid. I think you start to handcuff yourself when you start to replace you're replacing an injury with an older injured player, right? When Peters was here, before the season, he wasn't there, for the full season. He is getting up there in age, so he's already going to be on a snap count for age and health and things of that nature. I'd rather see what one of these guys that they I know they drafted a offensive lineman. They got the undrafted rookie as well to try to fill those gaps. I go next man up mentality, and if you can't go out and sign somebody, I believe Eric Flowers is still out there, younger guy. Yeah, he can come up and play on the line. Somebody like that's young and can fill the gap. But
what?
I'd rather have that. I'd rather have that and give somebody a second shot to make the roster than fill it with age and injury. That's just my personal opinion.
First of all, Eric Flowers is on Miami. Second of all, what the hell did you just say?
I'm not getting into that. I'm not touching that. I am not touching that. I am in no way should we sign Eric Flowers. No.
Joe, if I'm not mistaken, Kyle Long retired. If we could talk Kyle Long out of a retirement, I'm all for it.
Undecided.
Undecided. He's undecided.
He's undecided.
Ooh, yeah.
So, for me, I disagree, and I talked about it. And it's not. I'm not saying that Peters eventually won't retire. I mean, no, sorry, won't be back and won't be re-signed. I think it's still very possible, but him being re-signed I don't think it's an effect of the Brooks injury, because I don't see how him being re-signed is going to solve who plays at right guard, because I don't think that Peters slides inside, nor do I believe Dillard slides inside. So if neither of them are going to play inside, there's no real point in re-signing him. I think if Peters gets re-signed, it's going to happen because there's another injury along the line, and that's when you really start to get desperate, or if Dillard just doesn't look ready yet and they need that veteran to come in. But I think that as of right now, there's a reason why they've talked a lot about Matt Pryor, and they've kept him on for for the past 2 seasons. And I'm looking at the free agent right guards, or just guards in general. And you're talking about Larry Warford. I know who was it that brought him up? Ted FX brought him up. Larry Warford is he's a possibility. Someone else just mentioned Kyle Long. I'd be okay with that too. On a lesser scale, I may be okay with Mike Person, the guy, the former guard from San Fran. So possibly, but at the same time, I think I've been on on the wagon of it's time for young pieces to take over, and it's time for us to transition to the young players. Now, I've wanted the Eagles to draft an interior offensive lineman since last year, since 2019's draft. And this is exactly why, because when you have an aging line, it's important to start to invest young prospects into that so that the transition is minimal. So I feel like we should have drafted one in the second round as opposed to Mr. Jalen Hurts, and that point is going to be beat again over and over. But this is why I felt it was very important, because when you have one or two injuries, now all of a sudden it's that our offensive line doesn't look as strong. So I think that it's time to go to the young guys. I am not too high on Matt Pryor. I'm not as high as maybe the coaching staff is or some fans, but he does have his strong points. He has his flaws. Like he's not a good mover. He's not good at the second level. He's not really, if you're gonna ask him to get to the second level and block a linebacker in space and whatnot, that's not really his thing. But he is very strong. He's big. He's strong. He can anchor, and he can move people around. So he does have that working for him. So it's going to be very interesting to see what steps he can take, because he's going to have that first opportunity to fill in that spot. But I don't know if he'll be able to step up this season, but long term, I do like Jack Driscoll more than I do Matt Pryor. I just don't know how long it's going to take for him to finally be ready to start or to fill in. But we shall see. I think you kind of just have to go next man up. But again, like those three names I mentioned, I'd be okay with that. But at the same time, if I were gun in my head, I think the coaching staff and front office is ready to go forward with young guys, not just go back to vets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing leading towards Peters is, the obvious COVID situation that we're in. You're looking at, OTAs getting pushed back, regular camp getting pushed back, and the preseason being shortened. So you're going to try to a guy like bringing, Long in is a long shot, because he's already been out for some time. So bringing him in, trying to get him to work out, getting him back into football shape and learn that line in a pivotal situation, is going to be difficult to do. And then to take somebody like one of these rookies and say, hey, you're now the starter. Congratulations. Learn everything you need to know, that pretty much, one of the top two, if not the best in the league, was doing at his position, day one. So
Right.
I think that's the only thing in Peter's favor to come back, is just the familiarity and the readiness to be in the position. I know it's a opposite side, but we know that he can do it just because of the talent he is, regardless of the age.
And that's very well said, Kev. I mean, I think there is a wild card in all of this, though, and that's the guy from Australia that used to play rugby. We talk about Jordan Mailata.
Chrome's boy.
I'm just saying, he's on the team, and Brodo's out here wilding. But really, to sum it all up, this is not an easy decision. This is not something you look forward to happening, especially even before we get to whatever type of official training camp it is, OTAs, anything. This happened before all that. So he was. I think he tore his right one yesterday. He was recovering from tearing the left one, if I'm not mistaken. But he was coming back ahead of schedule. So, man, it's a tough blow, and there's no easy answer. I mean, the one thing I take solace in, I take calm in, is the fact that we do have Jeff Stoutland at the helm, who I think is probably, if not the best, one of the best offensive line coaches in the league. And it is the right guard. So I understand how good Brandon Brooks is. It's at the guard position. This would be way worse if it was a Lane Johnson, or even if it's an Andre Dillard. And we don't even know what he could give us. But having this happen at the tackle position, it's a completely different ball game. So by having it at guard, we hit Isaac Seumalo his rookie year or his second year at guard, and he was probably the weakest link of the team, and we still won Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it can be done. It's not impossible. It's not an impossible hill to climb, but it's definitely not one that if you would want to be in this position. We wouldn't want to have this poll question. Hell, before we had the first poll question, this wasn't even it. And then as soon as we got that set up, boom, this happened. So it's like, did we have a part to play in this too? Should we feel bad?
Now, let me ask you guys this: as far as offensive play style goes, how much do you think this changes? I know that they start to kind of fall in love with that 21 personnel, having the mix of running backs back there with a lack of receiving core. But now that that's kind of band-aided up, going out and getting a couple of guys, does this kind of force their hand to play even more 12 personnel with the tight ends they've got to kind of help, have one strictly, chipping on the line at all? Or do you think, it's kind of business as usual and they got to, just put it more on Wentz now just to get the ball out quicker?
I
I
mean, for me, go ahead, Chuck.
I personally when it comes to personnel. I don't think it changes anything. I could be wrong. This is just a shot in the dark guess. I don't think in terms of usage of personnel, I don't think it changes. I think what changes though is what the type of run plays you're going to be calling now with Brooks out.
Mhm.
With Sayamalu is he's a solid / good offensive lineman, and he can run block. So he has never been too much of a worry for me. So that left side is okay. I'm okay with that left side. Like Dillard, I I think he's going to be okay, but we'll see. But if I were to estimate, I think he's going to be fine. It's like what I said about Pryor. His ability to climb and get to the next level is not that great, and that's something that this offensive line, that this Eagles coaching staff asks of this offensive line a lot. They do a lot of not only mid zone, but they do their basic gap schemes like power plays and counters and stuff like that, where they'll have Brooks or even Sayamalo on the other side, and obviously we know Kelsey, where they're going to pull and get up to the second level, block a linebacker, and expect them to do it quickly. And you talk about combination blocks where you're going from you have your double teaming, they'll run duo and they'll double teaming a defensive lineman, and then they have to get up to the next level to block a linebacker. A lot of those things Pryor's going to have to show he can do, and if he can't do it well, that's going to affect their play calls. That's going to affect what they're able to call in terms of the running game. I think in the passing game, it's. I think he's okay with pass protection in terms of anchoring. Obviously, he's not what Brandon Brooks is, but I don't think it's going to affect it to the point where they have to now call less shots down the field. I think they're going to still do that. They're going to still be aggressive, and with what's the name? The guy we hired from San Fran and Denver. I forgot. We talked about
Scaganello?
Something like that. Yeah, Rich Scangarello, something like that. Yeah.
Scangarello, yeah.
With him here, I would expect more bootlegs, play action bootlegs to get Carson out of the pocket, stuff like that. So I don't think any of that's going to change. It's just, to me, it's more so calling stuff to that side with the running game. I don't know if you can really ask Pryor to do all of the things that Brooks was doing before, but we shall see.
So the good part about this is, and Gavin, you're right. I mean, Big V here still would help a lot. I mean, it definitely would help a lot. It would definitely lessen this blow a little bit. But you kind of, when you brought up Scaganello, whatever his name is, and then the other guys they brought in from the offensive side, to answer your question, Kev, is we don't know how this changes our offensive plans. Does it hurt? Yes. But we came into it. They've done so much of as far as the offensive side of the ball when it comes to the coaching staff that we don't know what kind of offense they're going to run. We get like Chuck said, Skaggs has tendencies, what he may like to do, but we don't know. We don't know how much this changes his plan, which may be a good thing because the league really doesn't know what this offense is going to be. We saw it with the Ravens last year. Obviously, Carson Wentz is no Lamar Jackson when it comes to being an athlete, but to playing the quarterback position, he's not a statue. So we've seen what it can be if everybody's on the same page, how you can come up with a very different offense in one off season. And especially really, if you look at it for the coaches, the players are at a disadvantage. We all can agree with that with the pandemic. The players are at a disadvantage. But look at it from a game plan, from a coach's standpoint. These coaches have had an extended amount of time to really implement and communicate all like what direction they want their side of the ball to go in, whether it's the defense or whether it's the offense. We've had an extended amount of time. Now, how that's going to work, how that's going to translate to on the field, we don't know. But on paper, it can get as elaborate as you want because you have no other distractions right now, except to game plan. You know what I mean? Now you have the game plan around Brooks' injury. And this time of year anyway, you would be off because you would have had OTAs in May. June is always quiet for the NFL unless it's somebody doing out there something stupid or some AB drama. And then you have training camp starting next month in July. So you have none of that right now except for how can we fix this? And they can all do it together. And they could be free agent. Like Chuck said, can they coach at Matt Pryor? Could they go Jake Driscoll? Mulata, I think, is just too big to play guard. Do they bring back Peters? They have a lot of different avenues they can go to try to fill this void, but all of it is still, obviously we would all want Brandon Brooks there. But I mean, we talked about him being done this year. Like, he's 30 years old, and this is his other Achilles. This isn't, I mean, we saw when D'Amico Ryans tore his Achilles for the second time. He was never the same after that.
Yeah.
He was never the same. So when you talked about anchoring, your lateral quickness and your agility and be able to push off and change direction and get upfield and shut a block. For Brandon Brooks, we don't know what that would have been on 1 foot. Now 2 feet, 2 Achilles. I mean, it's going to be a hard battle to come back from. I mean, Jason Peters was able to do it. He tore it twice, but I think that was the same leg, if I'm not mistaken. Now you're going to be what can I say? Compromising. You know, when you hurt one leg, the other leg, or you hurt
overcompensating.
Overcompensating. You're gonna be compensating on both sides. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see. It could be Warford. We'll see.
And this is just unfortunate. And like you said at the top, Pete, prayers go out to Brandon Brooks. I mean, it was just last week, I think, that I saw him training with I think Muay Thai, and man, he looked good. He looked in shape, phenomenal shape, moving around really well. So this is a huge blow to someone who could have been comeback player of the year last year with what he did, and it's going to be. We're all rooting for him to get healthy. But there's no guarantees, and it's unfortunate, and it sucks. It sucks. The one thing I will say is that it's at least this happened early enough where we can start coaching Matt Pryor or the other guys up a little bit and get them prepared instead of it happening middle of the season. I obviously do not wish injury on Brooks at all, but to try to find the silver lining here, there's time, and supposedly there's time. We don't know if the preseason will be affected or whatnot, to what degree, with all with COVID still an issue. But let's see. Let's all hope that they can get through this. And hey, next man up. When Jason Peters went down in 2017, a lot of people thought that was a huge blow and that we wouldn't be able to get near a Super Bowl. But Big V stepped in and was okay. And that's all he has to. He was just okay, stepped up in certain spots where he needed to, and we just need the next guy to. He doesn't have to be big. He doesn't have to be Brandon Brooks, but he's got to just be solid enough, and that'll be okay. And the one thing I will say when it comes to Big V, and not re-signing him, I still don't regret not re-signing him. I know Tom was big on him, like, you gotta get the offensive line help, and I get that. I totally understand. For me, though, looking at the price, the contract that he got in Detroit, then looking at his talent level, I'd rather just put investment into a guy on his rookie contract in Matt Pryor and see if he can end up being on that same level that Big V was. Because I think where I'm coming from is I never thought Big V was a starting starting caliber offensive lineman anyways. Some people do. Some people think he's a bona fide, he could be your starter. I don't see that type of talent in Big V. I think he is a good backup but I don't see him as a starting type of player at tackle. So that's why I don't have regrets. But if you're someone like Tom or someone else who sees him as a starting caliber guy, then yeah, I can understand why you wanted him to be re-signed. And you're fuming pretty much that it didn't happen. But I still have no regrets over Big V. I think Matt Pryor, even though I'm not too high on him, can end up being the same caliber of player as Big V.
Now, to your point earlier, Chuck, as far as the trickle down effect goes, and you're looking at the backfield and the things that Brooks meant up front, as far as getting to the second level, does this now mean you look away from certain guys in the backfield, like your McCoys, that everything would kind of go outside and force you to go get a bruiser, or does this kind of open some light for Holyfield that kind of can smack through where that spot would have been, as the offensive line isn't held up or getting to that second level as much?
You want to go, Pete?
So I don't think and this is just me thinking off the top of my head. I would love to see the splits of the run plays. I feel like we ran more to the left side of the line than we did the right anyway. Where I think Brooks' injury is going to hurt us the most probably is in the pass game, because a lot of Wentz's bootlegs were to the right. He rolled out to the right. So you need that section of the line to kind of hold up and not let anybody through, because generally if I'm bootlegging my QB to the right, that's a longer developing play. So I think as far as the run game itself, I think that'll be fine. I don't think they really need to change the course, or as far as getting another back, because if you really look at their backfield now, between their free agents, not free agents, between their draft picks and especially their undrafted free agents, they kind of have a style of runner for every flavor. And it's just really, like what Chuck's been saying all night, it's really up to somebody just to step up. But I would love to see their splits, and maybe we'll have that for next week or maybe later in the show today, to see what their splits was and which way they ran the ball the most. Because I'm not mistaken, I want to say I'm leaning towards the left side of the line, but I think if they did run to the right, I wouldn't be shocked to see that the yards per attempt or the yards gained were higher on the right side of the line, because I do feel as if that was the stronger side of the line.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think. See, when it comes to running backs and that, like, I think regardless, you want if your offensive line is going to at all decrease in talent or productivity, that emphasizes the need to have a better talent at running back, or a running back that can create on their own more than ever. This is the whole argument that I make of why the running back position is still more important than most people want to let on. Is because you can have guys like Raheem Mostert, Damian Williams, who those are the starting two running backs that were in the Super Bowl, and they look great in the systems. They run a system and they look phenomenal. They look, Mostert was awesome. But I emphasize all the time that the system and scheme and everything and coaching plays a big part in that. But when you have an elite talent or even a great talent, and I don't mean to knock Damian Williams or Raheem Mostert, but they're not that. They are not special talents at running back. What an elite or great talent at running back is able to do is make up for that decrease or lack of productivity in talent and offensive line. So when you have a better running back, and stuff breaks down in front of them, they can create on their own and create those yards. Whereas a guy who's just average or solid can't really do that on a consistent basis, and that's the difference. And I wish more people would see that. So in terms of a running back, whether that affects us getting a guy like McCoy or if it leans toward Elijah more in terms of style, I don't care so much about if you're a finesse runner or if you're a power runner. I just care about, are you able to create something and force missed tackles when there's nothing there? Because that's what it's going to come down to. If you're able to push a pile an extra 3-4 yards like Elijah has shown to do in college, and I believe he can do, then great, I want you. If you're someone who can make 2-3 defenders in the backfield miss with elusiveness like Miles or maybe Boston Scott, then that's who I want. But I like the if you're a veteran like McCoy who's lost a step, like that experience, I'd rather have a guy who's at his peak ability to create on his own. I don't think that is McCoy anymore. I think McCoy's vision is great. I think his, with experience and his experience in the league and being the veteran that he is, he knows how to process, and his vision is top notch. But that physical ability to make people miss at a high rate like it was before in his prime is just not there. So while he might be reliable, I need someone who still has at their peak, physically to do that. So I'm still on the wagon, on the part of the people that instead of McCoy, if McCoy is the next best option there, I'd still rather go with Elijah Holyfield or Michael Warren. I like them. I understand if other people don't, because they're unproven guys, undrafted guys. So I get it. I understand that. But for me personally, having studied both, if I were to choose between McCoy or one of them two, I'm gonna go with either Warren or Elijah.
Okay.
So Don poses a question here.
Good.
How confident do you guys feel heading into the season on a scale from 1 to 10?
More
answer
context on Don.
Before. Let's do it this way. Answer before injury and after injury, and Don, I'm going to elaborate more on that and say, how confident are we in the Eagles winning the division? Let's go just with division. So pre-Brandon Brooks injury and then post-injury, how confident are you, a scale of 1 to 10, that the Eagles can still win the NFC East?
I was a 9. I was high. I was probably a 9, maybe 9.5, 10. I mean, hell, Zeke got COVID. You don't know you ain't got no quarterback in Washington. They really don't even they don't even know who their left tackle is going to be. So, and then, in New York, that's probably your toughest competition because it is a season coaching staff, but it's still, they're new. But once again, that just leads me to my point. Like, even these newer coaching staffs who really are trying to get familiar with each other, they have all this time now. So I don't even know if that was a big disadvantage as far as the coaching staff now, as it would have been in more normal NFL offseason years. But I still was a 9. I just felt as if the weaknesses that we had coming into the offseason, we pretty much addressed those, barring health. And now after injury, it's probably like a 5, 6. It's just because.
Wow, really? So.
Yeah, I mean, maybe 6 to 7. But it definitely dropped at least 2 points.
I'd say before the injury, I was at a 9.
Okay.
I'd say after injury, I'm about an 8. I think that, Brooks is 8. I'd say 8.5, depending on how much. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. The Brooks injury definitely hurts our chances. It's a big blow. But I think that's in football. You are, more than any other sport, you are able to make up for the loss of an elite player or a core player more so than any other sport. And that's because football is the ultimate team sport. Like, Brooks is a great talent, one of the best offensive linemen in the league, but he's still only one spot on the starting offense, 1 out of 11. And there are still 10 other guys on that side of the ball that can make a difference. There are still 11 other guys on the other side of the ball that can make a difference. You still got Doug P. And so it goes into the whole thing, like even when we won the Super Bowl, we lost a bunch of guys, Jason Peters including them, and he was playing at a high level at left tackle. And when he went down, huge blow. But I need to see – I have confidence that Stoutland and the rest of the young guys, they'll be able to find a way to just be okay enough to the point where the team overall isn't going to be hurt to the point where I don't have confidence in them anymore. I think I still have good enough confidence to say I'm about at an 8 as opposed to a 9. Kevin, what do you think?
For me, as far as the Eagles are concerned, I am both the same before and after this injury. I'm right around a 7. My biggest concern is, to me it's a 2-horse race. I'm not concerned about New York. I think that they've got so much changing as far as their offensive or as far as the coaching scheme goes. I don't think they have enough offensive pieces. To me, it's very ragtag. It's pretty much Zeke and then everybody else, Barkley and then everybody else. As far as Washington,
Is he cut off?
I think.
Oh my gosh.
It's Strobe Kev making his appearance.
They're going to be bottom of the barrel in the league. And then, as far as the Eagles concerned, I'm looking at pretty much a brand new offense and a brand new coaching staff outside of offensively. Anyways, I'm looking at Deshaun Jackson, who you only got 1 game out of, so you don't really know what that's going to be like. You got Goodwin, you got Rieger, you got the emergence of trying to put Whiteside more into the offense. You have one less running back with Howard being out of the picture. So there's so much. The best way to put it is a question mark. Not good nor bad. You just don't know what it's going to be for me to put them over the Cowboys 100%. So I think it's neck and neck. I think it's very much identical to last year. I think they're going to write their own fate as far as, you gotta split them with the Giants, split them with the Cowboys, split Washington, and then just win every game, that you're supposed to win outside of that, and it's gonna come down to the wire. As it usually does in that division.
I think for the division, if you want to win the division, to me, I've always thought like you got to do better than split. You got to come out with at least a 4-2 record in the division, if not 5-1. So, but I hear you on everything else. Like, I mean, you're not wrong in that there's a lot of question marks, and it's neither good or bad. I guess there are players that I have less confidence in. Like, there are players I have more confidence in than most, and then on the other side, there are players I have less confidence in than most. Like, I don't have as much confidence in Derek Barnett as a lot of people. I feel like he's hit his ceiling, and he is what he is. He's a solid edge, but nothing more. But at the same time, I'm higher on other people like Rager, Sidney Jones. I have more confidence in those guys more so than most people. So I mean, that's just me. But you're fair, Kevin, in saying there's a lot of question marks. In terms of Deshaun, I know you mentioned Deshaun. I think if he's on the field, it's not a question mark. He's going to have an impact. He's going to have a great season, maybe like around 800 yards, and then like several touchdowns. And several big plays. And that's what Deshaun is. And I think that you don't like in our offense, you don't need one star receiver to get 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards, 1,500 yards receiving, anything like that. You just need guys to contribute to what they're doing. And we have a lot of talent all over where, like, just because Deshaun doesn't have 1,000-yard season doesn't mean he's not having a good season. So
my point with Deshaun, not to cut you off there, but is not necessarily his play. but his involvement within the offense. So I know what you're going to get out of Deshaun. That 800 low end, 1,000 1,000 yards, outside deep threat. I get that, but it's his involvement with having other true pieces there now. You know, is he going to really lock down one side versus maybe somebody, maybe Rieger does go off and show his true value. Maybe it's the Ertz and Goddard show like it has been. You just don't know what it's really going to be over there, especially coming off the injury. Not saying he's not going to be at least above average like he has been most of his career, in that upper second tier type player, but it's his involvement within a brand new scheme offensively, and the talent around him is all brand new. Especially not really having seen him last year. So you really didn't know what you had last year, even less more this year.
But I mean, for Deshaun, though, it's a little easier though, Kev, because I think it's like we know what he does well. Go. I mean, that fits in any offense. And then maybe every once in a while you give him a wrinkle, you can run it out, and because you respect his speed so much, he can get open. So I mean, I get that point of it too, but I mean, I just think for Deshaun, I'm more concerned with other skill position players like that was questionable, like a J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, like a Jalen Reagor, where he's going to fit and what he's going to bring to the table. So I just think Deshaun being the elder statesman, I never thought that he would think he would be in this position coming into this offseason, being like the leader, really, because Jeffrey he's still hurt, so I'm not sure how he's going to be there, what kind of impact he's going to have. I mean, outside of that, it's Deshaun. I mean, that's really it. So these younger guys are going to be looking at Deshaun like, how do we do this? How do we incorporate? So it's going to be on Deshaun to really lead that room, the wide receiver room.
Yeah, we have to not to tangent from that, but Chrome does chime in. He says, "What's up, fellas? Need to resign JP now more than ever." And then Yusuf does ask, "Would you guys mind if you move Dillard to guard and resign Peters at tackle?" I know I said I touched on it before, and it's why I disagreed to the poll. But what are your guys' thoughts on either one of them moving inside? Do you think they can do it, or not? And then I'll give my 2 cents.
Kev?
I mean, for me, I think the biggest issue is the confidence in Dillard, right? I mean, the initial thought was to bring back Peters because Dillard couldn't get it done where he was at. And you moved him around last year, and he, for lack of a better way to put it, cried and complained about it. Like, that's not a guy to me that when you have a talent like, Brooks go out, he's going to say, you know what, let me fill a hole and go over there and do what's best for the team. To me, if that guy already complained once, he's going to be a consistent complainer and want to stay where he's at. And, that guy to me is okay being okay. He's not going to push himself to change anything. And, I think that the issue really comes into is you already know Peters is a leader, so he's going to be the guy to move around if anything. So right. I don't think that's going to be Dillard at all. I think if he doesn't start in the position that he's at, he's not starting at all. He's going to be a bench guy. So
I'm just going to throw this to you guys.
Go ahead, bro.
I don't make anything of it. I'm just going to throw this in here. It's probably not even relevant because I doubt it'll happen. But if Cam Newton were to sign with the Redskins, just because of how good I believe that defense is, I believe they would have a chance to compete for the division.
100% agree. 1,000% agree. I mean, and that's scary. That's a scary thought. Because you're talking about Cam with a chip on the shoulder, something to prove. And he's going back to the head coach that believed him in the first place.
Imagine if Darius Geis actually stays healthy for half a season, let alone a full season.
That, and then they got don't sleep on Antonio Gibson too, man.
Oh, I wanted him badly. I wanted him
being a chess piece.
He's like a poor man's McCaffrey.
Yes, that's exactly the same thought I had. I didn't want to say it, but
no, I'll go there. I'll go there.
Very versatile. Very versatile. Dang it, Brodo. Jesus. Is that rumor out there somewhere?
No, listen, you're not hearing it from me, so I'm not reporting it.
If they got Cam, I mean, I'll say that it's definitely not a 0% chance, or anything. I think to what Kevin was saying earlier, there is still, for me, there's too many question marks that I don't know about in terms of their offensive line, their linebacking core, their secondary, and when it comes to running backs, I'm looking at two guys. I'm looking at Darius Geis and his health, like you guys said, and I'm looking at we'll say 2.5 or 3, either Antonio Gibson or Bryce Love. Because remember, they drafted Bryce Love, who pretty much redshirted his rookie year. So any of those 3 guys, if 2 of them, if Geis and then one of Gibson or Love can step up and stay healthy all year, and I think either all of them have talent, it's possible. I need to see that offensive line still worries me. They, in a matter of 2-3 years, they went from a pretty good offensive line to you guys kind of suck, and they've lost Trent Williams to San Francisco, and so there's no answer at left tackle. So that's a big thing. Even with a guy like Cam who can move, your offensive line is still. I mean, yeah, Cam can move, but we've also seen Cam when he has to try to create, and sometimes like when he has pressure in his face and things aren't going well, he's also the type of quarterback that can go on a cold streak and look really, really bad. He can make some Rex Grossman type of throws here. So like you've seen how Cam can get when he's on his lows. So I like a lot of the Redskins roster at certain spots. Like that defensive line is insane. And like I said, I like the running backs, their wide receivers, obviously. There's too many question marks for me to say with confidence that I can put them above the Eagles and Cowboys, but I wouldn't say there's no chance. I'm not gonna, say that because they do have spots, and I like their coach. So that's a good question. That's a good topic. I'd put them at a strong third if they sign Cam, like very strong third place in the division.
I mean, for me, I think it's an immediate boost and puts them right into the conversation because, like Yusef says right there, last year with that broken offensive line that they had and a broken body as far as age and injury has gone for Adrian Peterson, he still had over 800 yards. And that's with splitting carries here and there for whenever all of the other slew of running backs that they've had come through, came in for the snaps that they, split off of them. So if you I don't care what kind of line you have, you could just put a bunch of garbage cans in front of me. If you take one of probably the best, one-cut shifty type backs in Adrian Peterson, and you tell me that he's not only going to coach up my young guys, but can actually go out on the field and still show them how to do it, that's a bonus.
Well,
so I wouldn't worry about too much about him.
He's not shifty anymore.
But he has that, that just doesn't go away mentally, right? That's something that you can kind of teach. If somebody has, if you can get somebody in the weight room and get, if they've already got kind of quick feet and, their twitch is a little bit higher to, you can teach those cuts. And having a guy like Peterson, I believe at this point in his career, he's the type of leader that can get that done, and teach these guys how to perform with an underperforming offensive line.
I think to a degree, I think you're kind of underrating how difficult it is to teach agility, and lateral quickness and burst and explosiveness. If quickness was something easy to teach, then we'd have 10 to 15 different Barry Sanders in league history. But there's a reason why there's only one Barry Sanders.
I mean, I'm not saying that you gotta. I'm not saying that they're going to be an AP. I'm not saying they're going to be the best at making a cut. But if you can teach each one of the younger guys that they have a move, one single move, and put it out there, that's something. That's a question mark you got to look at. I think anything is going to be an improvement.
With AP, this is what I think of AP. AP is one of the greatest running backs in NFL history. AP right now is not a difference maker that you can win because of. He's still really good, and the fact that at his age he's still a good player is phenomenal, and I have so much respect for that. But if
Right.
I'm talking about what's going to be the difference for a Redskins team to be a division contender against the likes of Eagles and Cowboys, I'm focusing on guys who are difference makers, guys who really can make the difference. And so if AP was still that good the past 2 seasons, the Redskins would have been better.
Okay.
There's a reason why, like, what was that one game against the Eagles 2 seasons ago where he had that long 99-yard run or something, and then the rest of the game we didn't see him. He didn't do anything. Like, AP is still good, but he's not someone who you can come in and be like, we're going to win the game because of AP. He's not that type of player anymore. So while I still think he can have a role, I don't think he's a difference maker for a Redskins team if they're going to look to someone to lead them and help them win the division over the Cowboys or Eagles. I don't see it, but I still love and respect AP a lot.
But yeah, like in that role though, if Darius Guys can stay healthy, I'll be the first one to put my hand up if you want AP on this team. I would take AP behind Miles Sanders.
Oh yeah,
I'll raise my hand.
Can somebody make that happen, please? I'll gladly take that.
I take them. Yeah, I take them. But again, if we were to win a division or be a contender for the Super Bowl, it's not because of AP. He's not the first person I'm looking at, and that's my point. Like, I'm not, and I know Yusuf was the one who brought him up, and I'm not trying to disrespect AP. I'm just saying, like, there's a reason why I mentioned guys like Geis ahead of him, because I feel like Geis, if he's healthy, he's like a tier. He's close to a fringe elite type of talent at running back.
Okay.
He's just got to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy.
The funny thing is the guy who I believe is the biggest difference maker is a guy we didn't even talk about yet. It's Terry McLaurin.
Oh yeah, Terry McLaurin.
Yeah. Scary Terry.
Do that. Yeah, I meant like because Terry McLaurin balled out and he is who he is. He's gonna ball out. But I meant like guys. To make it clear, I meant guys that weren't doing anything last year.
I got you.
You get what I mean? Yeah, I should have made that clear before.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys who weren't contributing last year for the Redskins, that could be the main focus and be a main reason why they would, contend this year.
Yeah, but before I forget to answer, Gavin asked my confidence in the Patriots. Solid 5. I think any team led by Bill Belichick has at least a shot, a chance, and especially in the division where you still have Sam Darnold and Ryan Fitzpatrick back there. I don't think that those two teams compete. The Bills do scare me 100%. They have a solid defense. I took the defensive coordinator in our draft. I know that that's a strong suit for them. I believe that they are slowly adding pieces to that offense, and Diggs as a little bit of a deeper threat. To get Allen, I believe he's going to be a top tier quarterback at some point in this league. If he keeps trending forward and can progress mentally as a quarterback. But I can never count the Patriots out. They still have Sony Michel, in the run game, and a couple of younger pieces in Harris and younger receivers. But it's similar to the Eagles as far as question marks go. I mean, I've never seen Stidham play outside of the preseason, so I can't really judge him. I don't know what's there. If the Patriots don't draft a quarterback, that's got to say something to him. His ability to step in and be a starter. So, it'll be interesting to see.
Kev, can I just ask you this? Because I listen, I don't know what the hell they have to lose. Why don't they just sign Cam? I'm gonna sound like a Cam Newton fanboy tonight, and that's fine. Why don't they just sign Cam Newton for a 1-year deal? If he sucks, then okay, then they're going to be in a good position to draft somebody, and if good, great. What's wrong? Like, why? Why are they not doing that?
I think that there's 3 issues that come across: is money. They can't pay him this year. They don't want to backload it next year because then that hurts them, because they do have the money to, suck it up 1 year and go out and get somebody decent versus, suffering, signing, Cam just as a Band-Aid. That's not really a Patriot thing to do just to, fill a gap. They'd rather have that next man up mentality. I don't think Cam is a locker room type guy. Maybe a wardrobe guy, but the Patriots, they already got their hoodies. They don't need nobody there. So I don't think he's a guy to build anybody up, in a presence like they had within Brady or, you name it on the offense. So I just don't think it's, organizationally wise, the direction that they would want to go. Not saying he doesn't have talent and he can't play still. It's just not a fit in New England.
Yeah.
I know Yusuf said.
Go ahead.
Yusuf said, Chucks, you also have to remember that he was playing with Mark Sanchez at QB. If Alex Smith didn't get hurt that season, I think we would have gotten to the playoffs and lost to New Orleans or LA. What I will say to that, Yusuf, I know you're a Washington fan, and with us being Eagles fans, except for Kevin, you can say either side is being a little biased, but even with Alex Smith, I don't see you guys Washington winning that division that year. Regardless, I think you guys got on a good hot streak, but I don't think that was sustainable. Now, would have it helped Adrian Peterson individually if Alex Smith was there? Possibly. I think he might have had better games here and there, but overall, looking at the big picture, I still don't think you can look at AP and say he is one of the first players you look at when you talk about a team contending. He's not that guy anymore. And I just know that I'm trying my best. I'm doing my best to separate my love and respect for one of the all-time greats to just being realistic about what he is now. And that's my only point. He can't carry that load. He just can't. He's like Frank Gore, I have love and respect for, but we're not that type of players anymore where they can really carry an offense like they used to.
Yeah, I should clarify. I'm right there with you, Chucks, as far as the physical play goes. I do agree that I don't think AP is a difference maker actually running the ball and carrying the offense. I think it's the intangibles of him training up the young backs that are back there to create something worth doing with a suffering offensive line. I think he will still contribute by being, you still have to fear. There's still that fear behind his name. Oh, that is Adrian Peterson. You kind of got to watch a little bit whenever you see him come out. Not necessarily he's going to break anything off, but to me, it's the intangible of training up the young guys and being that, that coach in a player's body type, of a person. To now you're instilling his, tenure of the game onto a very young backfield.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. Yeah, his intangibles and leadership. Lord Walker said, I think someone no one is talking about and someone I am actually intrigued to see is this kid Killings. Having him and Scott can keep fresh backs that all have speed. I don't want to write anyone off, but I would be surprised if Killings makes the team. I think if he is going to make the team, it'll be presence as a special teamer. And I think he's going to have to really make his mark as a returner and blow the doors off in the preseason as a returner in order to, find a way onto the roster, which is definitely possible. Again, I'm never going to say nothing is I'm not going to say it's a 0% chance, but when I'm looking at this roster and the group of running backs, I don't see him being able to beat out the other guys. I think that it's going to be obviously Sanders and Scott. I think those are pretty much shoo-in. And then after that, it's you sign a veteran Clement. If he can stay healthy, we're pretty sure he makes a team. Pretty sure. And that leaves one. They're only going to carry max 4 running backs. So that down to Elijah, that comes down to Michael Warren, and comes down to Killings. And, they're all undrafted guys. But in terms of if Sanders goes down and you need someone to really carry that load or not carry the load, but share the load and, be that runner, touch the ball 10 to 15 times a game. Yeah, I don't think Killens is that, and I think you need a guy, whether it be Elijah or Warren, over a guy like Killens. But hey, if Killens kills it, no pun intended, in the preseason as a returner, that could help his cause, because then you can be like, okay, Killens is leaving his mark as a as a returner, special teams guy, and therefore he has a role. But if he doesn't, then it's really tough to see him making the team.
And then I don't think for him, Corey Clement coming back that on that 1 year deal didn't do any of the UDFA running backs any favors.
Yeah.
It's a different story if he's not there. But you're talking about a guy, when Doug looks at this guy, he's looking at a guy that, I mean, without him, we don't win a Super Bowl. I mean, it's just that simple. Without him, we don't win the Super Bowl. I mean, one of the greatest catches in Super Bowl history. Was it questionable? Was he in? Was he out? Man, that's not for me. That's. I mean, I know where Kevin's going to land on that argument. You know what I mean? But hey, the refs called it how they saw it.
Inconclusive.
To me, that's not even. To me, that's the funny thing is that's not even the play I look at as far as the play that stands out for me on the Super Bowl. It's the fumble.
Okay.
If that fumble doesn't happen, that's that is the sole play that changed that game. That put it in the bag for you.
The strip sack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. That's
catch, no catch. That wouldn't have mattered. Fairly special. That to me that doesn't necessarily matter. It's the strip sack.
Right.
All those other things could or could not have happened, and I still think it's that much closer. It's that close, and that single play is what defined the game for you guys, regardless. But I digress.
So, Don, I mean that's a great transition into we can get around the league real quick, and then I'll kind of finish up with these roster projections for the Eagles. But how big of a deal Zeke getting COVID could change the season? I think it depends. It depends on how the players look at it. I think for one, I don't know if he just got this or is this the story that is this the story that's just coming out now? Maybe he already had it, he recovered. But I think it's something that the players realize, like, okay, well, like this is real. Like this is now it's relatable to them, like they can get it. You know what I mean? It's not really, and it's really the asymptomatic people that's passing it. I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, like somebody I work with, I just found out had it and she got it from a new puppy. The puppy was a carrier. It's the only thing. I mean, it's just the puppy wasn't sick, but it carried the virus and it got her and it got her husband. So, I mean, it's something that it's definitely not, probably wasn't at the forefront of the players' minds, but now you see somebody that's your counterpart, that's your peer, and they test positive for it. And there's other players that tested positive, but none of the names have been released like Zeke. So it's definitely something where the NFL may have to take a step back and be like, okay, maybe we need to reevaluate this, or maybe they need to go to like an NBA type setup and try to find somewhere where, hey, you get I don't know if there's a complex that's big enough with multiple football fields that can house as many teams, these many players, because if you look at the NFL roster, typically that's the largest roster out of all the four major sports. I mean, you have 53 people, numerous coaches, numerous equipment people. So you really can't do something like that. But I definitely think if more players start to catch it, then it's test positive for it, they may have to go back to the drawing board, which may jeopardize football starting in September.
So Yusuf said his confidence level in the Lions before the season was 3.5, but bringing Corey Unlin is a 1.9. I'll just tell you this, Yusuf. If Matt Patricia wasn't your head coach, and again, I might sound crazy, if Matt Patricia wasn't your head coach, I'd probably have you guys winning.
That's done.
Oh, what did I say, Yusuf?
Yeah.
I probably somebody.
You said Yusuf, yeah.
Donda. I believe that the Lions would be my division winner right now if Matt Patricia wasn't your head coach. But unfortunately, Matt Patricia is your head coach.
It's funny what happens when the birds leave the nest and they try to leave New England.
What?
Oh my God.
Just saying.
Yusuf here, actually Yusuf, he says, I want to ask you guys something about Deuce Staley. Would you guys be satisfied if Doug hires him as the OC? Personally, I would have loved Ron to interview Deuce for the OC position. In terms of his role here, he's not going to ever be the OC. That ship has sailed. No one is going to be OC for the Eagles. Deuce is the assistant head coach, and he is the running backs coach. That is his role. He's since his time here, he's someone that I've been intrigued by, and they've obviously kept him on to groom him for the future to eventually have some sort of shot at a head coaching role. So I'm glad. I'm actually surprised that maybe I shouldn't be surprised because you seem like you're very knowledgeable, but I'm glad that you mentioned him as someone you were intrigued with in terms of interviewing for the OC position, because I have confidence in Deuce. I think he's a guy who's a true motivator and leader that can really bring out the best in his players, and the way he's developed these running backs over the past few years since he's been on is a testament to that. So I hope that Deuce does get a chance at a real OC position somewhere down the line, and then as a head coach somewhere, as long as it's not with the Giants or Cowboys.
Like, I could see him meshing really, really well with Ron Rivera, though. Either like a Ron Rivera or a Mike Tomlin, like a very run-heavy, offensive-oriented team. And I mean, face it, Washington. If you double team Terry McLaurin, what else do they have? I mean, you got Antonio Gandy Gold in there, but I mean, he's a rookie. I mean, but outside of that, I can't name another wide receiver on their team. Outside of that, so I mean, they're definitely going to be a team that's going to run the ball a lot, especially AP there. And I think a team like that would definitely suit Deuce a lot. But with that being said, here it's just not, unless something drastic happens, it's just not the direction that the head coach wants to go in with his offense.
Yeah. Lord Walker says, as a returner alone, he makes a 53-man squad. 4.39 speed, 2,500 yards rushing, 25 TDs with 6 yards per carry at UCF. Come on, one of our biggest holes was when Sproles went down. Starting field position is essential. And I hear you. Hey, I said it.
Yeah.
Like Killins, if he makes some impact as a returner, then he's going to make the team. We got to see it. You can't he's an undrafted free agent for a reason, and he was one of the guys where when I was studying the draft, I knew he was going to be undrafted. Like, there are guys like Elijah and Michael Warren who I have 4th, 5th down grades on, and then I'm surprised they end up undrafted. But
right,
Killins, I knew he was going to be undrafted, and he has speed, but he's small, man. And I'm not one to speak about how small a running back is, because I love short guys. I love the short, small players in the league. And with Killins, I'm rooting for him, but I'm just being realistic and saying that you can read articles, but those articles are just, there's not a lot to talk about right now. So these writers writing articles, there's a reason why I took a break from writing my articles for A2D, because I'm not going to put out slop and just nonsense where I really don't have anything to talk about. So they're trying to find something to write about, and so they're going to write about Adrian Killins. So we have to see it first. We have to see what he can do first. I think it's possible he is a great returner? Absolutely, that speed is great, but we got to see it first. And I can't write it in pen that he's going to make the roster because he's going to be a great returner. We have to see what he can do. Okay. I believe KFC1 has made an appearance. Eileen says, "Is Kevin wearing a patch shirt?"
My Julian Edelman salute the troops, one of my favorites.
You wear that?
Is that what he was doing, saluting the troops, when he was standing on the hood of that car?
Hey, I don't know what he was doing, but I approve. So
Oh God.
You would. You would.
of course I would.
Of course he
Plus,
would.
I
I want to, in terms of like the roster projections, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I want to wait for Chrome so that we can do this exercise like all together.
Okay.
In terms of doing a detailed roster projection, but let's touch on it a little bit and let's do this. Name one or two guys that you feel are, fringe or bubble guys that you think will end up making the roster. And then the other way around, one or two guys that you think might surprise people in terms of not making the roster. And Kevin, you can go with the Pats.
okay.
Yeah. You first, Kev, since you were on the big screen. Time is yours, sir.
Somebody who I think will make the roster.
Yeah, it's probably like an underrated and then an overrated player that may not make it. That'd be a shock.
Yeah.
To me, I'm blanking on his name. Tight end that they had signed through the draft, who wasn't named Moss, unfortunately. I blanking on his name, but I do like him. And in the same sense, I think that that unfortunately for me, if I had to pick somebody that wasn't going to make the roster, I'll have to come back on that one. I got to think. We're thin all over the place, so there's not really many cuts to make. So,
Rep at number 11. KFC 1 is on fire tonight, boys.
well, she knows who the real number 11 is. So,
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh,
You had your
Christ.
time to shine and you bought because you couldn't come up with something on the spot.
no, I couldn't. I was mesmerized by my beard. You do a zoom up like that, and you're not going to get lost in the beard. Look at that.
Oh my God.
You know how long? This is 6 months in the making after you full shaved it.
Hey, listen, I wasn't even there when you made the dumb bet.
Don't blame us. You made the bet. Don't go looking at us.
At the time, hindsight being 2020, that was a great bet. I thought there is no way that they can lose in the first round. Like, that doesn't happen.
It happened this year.
That's what happens.
It sure did. It sure did. P, you want to go next? You got guys? I got two guys, but it's tough.
So, I think John Hightower makes it.
Okay.
I know we've been kind of hearing, we kind of we move in the same circles, me and you, Chucks, to where we kind of, that's the name that's kind of coming out. Big things can be expected. I think John Hightower definitely makes it. And I truly, truly believe, I think just because we need so much help at this position because we're so thin, I mean, almost to the point where Sean Bradley has to make it at linebacker. Like, he has to. He has to make it. Like, we already seen they're not bringing back Nigel Bradley. Not at this point. So Sean Bradley has to make it. If I have to give somebody who I think may get cut, I think, even though we just talked about him and he made it harder for the UDFA for running backs, I don't think there's a possibility that I don't rule out a possibility that Corey Clement doesn't make the team.
Yes, thank you.
Honest.
I'm not the only one.
I'm not. I don't rule that out. I don't rule that out. I'm not. I don't see that they're that sold on him.
Yeah, I agree. I think they signed him as like, hey, let's see what happens, and that's it. I really think that's it. So you took my guy as someone who I think won't make the roster. So I'll go somewhere else.
Okay.
I don't think Quez Watkins is going to make the roster. I think the wide receiver group is just too packed. I think there's too many guys. And now I think he does make the practice squad. I think that he's going. I don't think anyone's going to claim him, and I think that he's going to be there on the practice squad for us. There is that, but I think he's the name that really stands out just because we drafted him in what was it, the 5th or 6th round? 6th round. That's late in the draft, and he's got his flaws. So I think Quiz Watkins does not make the roster. I don't know if that's a surprise name, but like I said, you took Mike Clement pick, so I had to go somewhere else. Guys who I think will make the roster. I think that Michael Warren or Elijah, one of them is absolutely going to make the roster. It's whoever can show they can be that power bruiser back that can be relied on. I give the edge to Michael Warren because he is a good receiver, and I think that could play to his advantage in the fact that he doesn't have to come off the field on 3rd downs, and he can be a weapon, still in the passing game. But Elijah does have a year under his belt. He does have time, with the team already being signed in late December to the roster. So he's already familiar with some of the team. And when it comes to being a pure power runner, Elijah probably, I'd say, is a little better, has better vision, and is stronger than Warren. So we'll see. But I think I would say I'd bet good money that at least one of the two makes the roster. I'd bet good money on that. Yeah. Ryan.
For me, I'm going to go the one quote-unquote surprise to miss or get cut. I'm going to go Marquise Goodwin. I just don't buy it. I mean, the guy can't stay healthy. He really's not been too impressive when he's on the field. To Chuck's point, there's so many other guys that I believe can eventually be better. And it's not like we gave up anything for him. He's not getting paid anything. We didn't give up any assets. We didn't even give up a pick. We swapped picks.
Right.
So I think it's a guy that was brought in kind of, hey, he can supply some competition for all the young kids, see if he has anything left. Hell, I mean, people label him as a freaking poor man's Deshaun Jackson. I'm not going to go there with it. I would like to see him actually get on a field first.
Right.
As far as a surprise to make the roster, Chucks, you took my first one. That was Warren. Pete, you took my second one, which was Hightower. So I'll go my third. I like Killins. I do. I really, really do.
Okay.
I also point out that, and it's undrafted, so it only goes so far with this, but, they gave him, what was considered unprecedented money for an undrafted free agent. They gave him a huge bonus for the roster. So that was months and months and months before they actually, we're going to even see him on the field. So they clearly have a plan for the kid. I think that he's going to be in a competition with a Greg Ward and maybe even a Corey Clement, even though I don't see Corey coming. I'm not even labeling that as a surprise. I just don't think he makes the roster. I think he's only on there because of the COVID situation. They need familiarity in the, in the locker room and on the practice facility. But I think he's going to be in a competition on kind of a short list competition to be a punt/kick returner with like a Boston Scott and a Greg Ward. And then here's the other thing. I could also see Greg Ward not making it, honestly.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I mean, I know Tom and I have debated in the past that, he considers Greg Ward more of a lock to make the roster. And my argument is I don't think there's such thing as a lock 5th string wide receiver. Like, I just don't. And like we talked about, there's so much competition. What happens if Marquise Goodwin shows that he can actually be something, or, a John Hightower or a Quez Watkins? Are we going to keep him off because we have an undrafted guy that's been on the roster for 5 years that had a good half a season? I like Greg Wood. Listen, he was the only guy to catch the football last year on a consistent rate.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, this is what people need to understand. Nothing, like, everything's earned in this league. Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, Corey Clement was like we talked about, he was a huge contributor in the Super Bowl, and then we cut him a couple years later. So it's a year-to-year league. Yeah. I look at a situation where this is an undrafted guy who used to be a quarterback, The fact that he's on the inside he's on the inside bubble as a really good shot to make the roster when he has no guaranteed money attached to him. He has no stock and assets on what the team gave for him. The fact that he's regarded as more of a confident guy to stay on the roster, that means that he's ahead of the game compared to his last 5 years. That's his reward. That's his reward. And again, I like him. But the fact that, I don't know. To me, if we're talking about locks, guarantee guys on this roster, he's way down on that list to me. And I like him. I do. I just think that there's so many other options if need be.
So to circle back on my guys, now that I actually remember their names for a second there, was the tight end that they drafted, not necessarily on the same track as you guys as far as locks to make the roster, but for me, he's going to be a lock to be a starter in a very crowded tight end field, is Devin Asiasi. The first time that they went back-to-back and drafted 2 tight ends in the same draft since Gronk and Hernandez. I think that gives much praise to both of those guys. I think Devin's the better of the two. I'm not sold with Lacoste. I've never been a fan of his, so I'm excited to see the rookies get in there and actually show some ability. A guy for me that I pray doesn't make the roster, that keeps just stealing a spot from feasible receivers, is Gunnar Olszewski, who just barely made it last year, and we had him returning for what reason I don't know. To me, he's out and should have been out last year. So he's actually the guy that took Josh Gordon's spot and made it possible that he not come back. So
Gavin, it's funny, Ryan. Gavin says, Ryan talking about Goodwin not making the team, me playing Madden just scoring with Goodwin.
And speaking of, didn't the cover drop today?
The trailer.
Yes, it did.
Jackson. The game looks exactly the same. This is looking like it's going to be the first year I stop. This might be the end of it. Like, I stopped buying Madden this year because, with it being the only football game, I was kind of like just suckered into it because I had to. I wanted a football game to play, and so I had to buy Madden. But it's getting to the point where it's just, man, like they're selling us the same game every year with just different colors, and we keep buying it. So this might be the first year that I just say screw it, I'm not getting it, and I'm just gonna wait for 2K to come out with their football game, even though it's gonna be an arcade style game. Whatever they do, whether it's like a next coming of NFL Street or whatnot, or NFL Blitz, whatever, I'll buy that and I'll play that over any sim game that Madden wants to come out with, because I'm done with it. I can't stand that they put out the same stuff every year. It's horrible.
Yeah, for me, I'll still get Madden, just cause I've got every one since I believe like 93. I went out and bought the older ones, more of a collector's piece. I do play it occasionally, but I agree with you as far as the familiarity. I mean, there's a lot of different directions they could go, and they've started to, but really they don't have any reason to change because, like you said, there is no competition. So
it's a shame. Like, I'm a franchise mode guy, and the fact that franchise mode has been essentially the same for the past 10 years is horrible. It's horrible. Like, I can't stand for it anymore. I don't want them to take my money anymore, and I just can't. I also can't stand EA. EA, like, they ruin games. Like Star Wars games, they ruin Star Wars games. Like Star Wars games used to be great, and then EA came along, bought them, and they suck. They suck. So this is it for me. I'm done. Done. They should bring back NFL Street's football game. NFL Street was a great game. Great game. Great game. Yes. Who was it? Someone said something else. I want to know. There was another comment here about. I think someone had said on YouTube. My surprise, John Lynch. I don't know where that thing is. I'm looking on YouTube comments right now. But John Lynch says my surprise to make the roster is Trevor Williams. My surprise to get cut is Corey Clement. Trevor Williams is another one that we need to look at. Like the guy could make the roster as like the fourth DB. He really, really could. He's had promise from his days back with the Chargers. So don't be surprised if he ends up making it as the fourth DB. And don't be surprised to piggyback off of that if Rasul Douglas doesn't make the team. If Rasul Douglas is out the door. So that's good name to bring up, John. What else we got here? Gavin says, I love franchise, but it's the exact same thing every year. It is. You know what I wish? Like, this is why I love 2K, and this is why when Madden, I was a Madden player, and then when 2K came out, I switched, and I was heartbroken when EA got the license. Is because with 2K, you see their 2K basketball games, like NBA 2K.
Yeah.
You see how detailed that is. Like with franchise mode, you can literally do everything that excuse me, everything that an NBA GM can do, like playing time, rotations, like it's so detailed. But yet EA can't do that with Madden. They can do anything close to that with Madden. There are so many things they do with their franchise mode where it's wrong. And you know what? I'm going on like rants here, left and right, about what's wrong with Madden. But you know what else is wrong with Madden? They don't even have positions right because they still classify players as defensive ends and defensive tackles and right linebackers, left linebackers. Like that's not how it is. Because what I hate is when I'm drafting a player, right? Say I have a defensive end and he's playing. He's the team he's on is they run a 4-3 scheme, but say he goes to another team, they play a 3-4 scheme. Well, now he's lined up as defensive end on a 3-4 scheme when really he's an edge player that plays outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. Well, no, he's listed as a defensive end. That's incorrect. They don't even have the right positions for these defensive players. They're so outdated, but they're not going to make these changes because they don't care. They really don't care. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I don't know. Someone else talk because I could go on and on for hours about Madden and what's wrong with it.
Yeah, I haven't played Madden in probably like 4 years. So, but I was a franchise guy too.
Does Ryan have something to say? Ryan.
Okay. I was waiting. I didn't know if Kevin wanted to chime in.
No,
I was waiting. No, I don't play any of the new games. I go old school. I don't know if you guys. I don't know if I had it on this show or in the past. I had a long rant about the new games. The fact that you get it and you got to wait 5 hours as it installs.
Yeah.
Where hey, the Eagles added a fourth string linebacker who's never going to play, but the Madden game recognizes it, so we gotta download the new rosters and we gotta wait now. It's like, damn it, I just want to play. Like I just want to play. The old games, now granted, the old Xbox, the discs freeze every 5 seconds. It says, "Oh, clean the disc." Like that's annoying as hell. Absolute annoying. Like I want to throw the thing through the window, but at least I could just put the thing right in and play. So I go old school. During quarantine. I started the NBA Street. I started the NFL Street, NFL Street 2. The only game I screw with that's new is GTA. That's the only game I mess with.
And that's not even new.
No, but listen, Ralphie just I'm not a video game guy, so Ralphie at the beginning of quarantine told me to grow up and get it. So I'm big. I'm big into it. Big.
So with that being said, I've always been an Xbox guy.
Yep.
Through and through. I remember waiting at Best Buy at Deptford for the very first Xbox in 2001.
Me too. Me too.
You had to be like, what, 10 years old then?
Oh, not even. I was with my parents. I was barely a human then.
So, and it was literally was the shape of an X.
Yep.
It was filled in, obviously, but like they made sure that they had X on the top. And I've always been every Xbox system I've always had. But let me tell you something, bro. That PS5, oh boy, oh,
You mean the router?
I don't know. You call it whatever you want. When they showed that Spider-Man gameplay, I was like, bitch, I'm about to start slinging webs. I'm a grown ass man. I'm about to start slinging webs, boy. But yeah, I just can't. I mean, it's like, see, I'm probably the oldest one out of all of us here. To see what started like Super Nintendo and what I had to deal with.
Oh yeah.
So what? Like my kids play Xbox One now, and
It's
I'm
great.
looking at them and they getting mad. I'm like, you guys, you're lucky.
Oh, yeah. Remember back in the days of Nintendo when you had to, if the cartridge was dirty,
Blow on the disc. Oh.
blow on that.
Yeah.
Damn windstorm.
Bro.
Oh my god!
Mike Tyson Punch Out actually had a Punch Out glove, and you couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Like if you had one, you was the man on your street.
Oh my god!
You feel what I'm saying? Like, bro, it's and now it's just like that's the thing, Ryan. Like to go back what you said. Like I remember when I first bought the Xbox One, I was like, okay, let me buy one with a lot of storage. No matter what you do, you're going to hit storage capacity.
Absolutely.
No matter what you do.
Yep.
And I'm like, this makes no sense.
Yeah. Oh wow!
I still have one, Jake. I still have
Mario
it.
N64. You guys are so young.
I still
Jesus
have
it.
Christ.
I actually have Madden for Super Nintendo. I don't have a Super Nintendo yet. I haven't found one that's not $500
Yeah.
buy from somebody. But I do have it just in case. That way I can go back and play those. The original Maddens where it was just Madden on the on the cartridge itself. But for me, it was a big jump. I was a Nintendo 64 person playing Mario Party and Super Smash Bros. Like the only two games that we had. And then my first system after that was the 360, and I was like, "What is this? Why is the game flat?
Right.
Where do I put this thing at?"
Jesus.
You got to remember, when I grew up, I also was less DVD, more VHS.
Yeah, you're my age, Kevin. I know. You're my age.
God.
Well,
But you guys are generations apart, Ryan. Generations apart. Yo, but Don, I do remember the first Halo, man. That was like one of the first person shooters to really get a jump. I'm gonna take it back even a system further. Let's go PlayStation. The first ever Metal Gear Solid.
Oh,
hands down.
Whoa,
I would still play that game right now.
That is, I'm talking about timeless. That game is timeless. You play it now and you're still gonna get goosebumps. I remember playing that game, and the scariest part of that game for me, I literally had to I threw my controller and ran out the room because I got so scared. was when you go in the elevator and you realize there are 4 cloaked soldiers in the elevator with you about to jump your ass. That I was like, what the oh dude, like Metal Gear Solid that is a phenomenal game. I love Metal Gear Solid. Yes.
I will tell you this. I will argue until the end of time that the best gaming system is the Sega Dreamcast.
Oh,
I have it.
Sega Dreamcast.
You couldn't have told me that, Pete.
That's what
Sonic Adventure, best game of all time.
That made me get into the 2K sports games because that's when they came up with like NBA 2K and NFL 2K. They had Iverson on the cover and then they had Randy Moss. Yep. And I was like, whoa, what is this? That Dreamcast made that leap, yo. Because when Dreamcast came out, those graphics and those visuals were like unlike anything anyone's ever seen before. That was a great system. Great system.
Yeah, I remember
I was all over the place. Like I had a bunch of different ones. I had, I started off with Nintendo and Game Boy, but then I went over to Sega. I had Sega Genesis. I did have GameCube. I had the first PlayStation. I had PS2, I had all the PlayStations. at some point. Xbox, when Xbox came out, I did have that. I tried 360, and so like I've dabbled in all different game systems, but when I got older and I had to cut down on which one I wanted, I couldn't have two systems at the same time anymore because I wasn't getting money from my parents. I wasn't a spoiled brat anymore, and I had to pay for it in my own pocket.
Right.
I tried out 360, and I had 360, and I tried sticking with it, but I just couldn't, and I made the switch over to PlayStation, and I'll probably say like I don't see myself ever switching back to Microsoft. I just like the exclusives and the the games that Sony offers. So I'm a Sony guy. I'm a PlayStation guy.
And we still are not at the point yet, which is alarming to me. So this is a two-parter. And if you guys, if the fan is still out there, then you went from sports to gaming, and sometimes the two go hand in hand. So we appreciate you. Why haven't we come out with a system to where, especially in an online-based platform, to where PlayStation and Xbox players can play each other on the same game? That's
what people say.
Say that again.
So, like, if I have Xbox, Chuck has PlayStation, I can't play him, even though we're playing the same game. Obviously, it's different, but there's enough similarities within the company. You can do that now.
Yeah. So in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, it is cross-platform. Some game modes are you can be in a party where I could hear you and talk with you across platform. Right. That is like new.
Okay.
Within the past year.
I'm happy about that. Where does, because I don't think he gets enough credit. Where does Sonic rank overall as a video game character? Because to me, I would say he's almost 1A.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's easily 2.
Yeah, like I mean, who are you putting 1 though? Mario?
Mario 1? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. Just because here's the thing. The reason why he's not 1A, and don't get me wrong, I mean Mario's had a million games, but there's been some bad, and I mean some bad Sonic games. Bad.
Okay.
But the problem is that when that Sonic, like when Sonic games are good, they're friggin' phenomenal.
Yes.
Well, I think that there's a lot to consider. Is that the difference outside of those two, Mario obviously being one, and Sonic has the longevity with the comics, the shows, and everything else plays into it, and the simplicity of the game. There's so many different people age range wise that can play it. I mean, for most of them, it's one level. You're running across a single vertical. You're not moving in and out versus just left to right for most of the games. So, the ease of gameplay makes it very well liked for most people to get.
So I just pulled up, and I'll wait a few minutes just so Chuck, you can break it down. But I just pulled up an article that ranks the top 50 best video game characters ever. So I'll see if you guys can guess which ones are which.
I don't think I'm well versed enough. Like I've played my video games. I've had to kind of tone them down over the past few years because I just don't have time anymore to play video games. I can't believe I'm actually at that age. I used to, 15 years ago, I used to be like, oh, I'm never gonna get to the age where I can't play video games. I'm here, bro.
Chuck, don't feel bad. I'm already at that age. I'm already there.
God, I can't man. If it wasn't for this quarantine, I never would have. I probably my PlayStation probably wouldn't be touched though.
Yep.
I haven't had time to play it. And it's partly because I choose to do other things. Like I choose to watch football and break down football game tape over playing video games. So I mean, it's not that I don't have free time. It's just that there are other things that kind of also occupy my leisure time too. But I mean, I'm not that well versed, but if a lot of these are, if you're talking about like classics mainly, then I think we like. I mean, I speak for myself, but I think I can nail down a good amount of them if we're talking
Now,
about like all
Brian,
time.
are they title characters, like title video game characters, or just characters in the game? That'll
Most
make
of
them
them are main characters.
Okay, most of them main characters. Okay.
Okay. Don
so-
real quick. Don said Mortal Kombat. Yo, Mortal Kombat's up there. I'm a Street Fighter guy, but I do
Hands
like Mortal
down.
Kombat. But Street Fighter was my man. Street Fighter was like one of my first games I ever like really got hardcore into.
So
I'm
to
always
take it
I'm
way
always
back for you
Street Fighter
guys. I remember in Voorhees, we used to where I live at now, still same. It's like an hour away from Voorhees. I remember when they used to have the Echelon Mall. The Echelon Mall used to have the biggest arcade.
Yes!
Bro.
Yes!
I remember going in there and when I was
Exhilarama,
younger,
boy.
Yes.
Exhilarama.
12 or 13 years old, and used to $5 of tokens would get you 25 tokens. So they would give you 5 extra tokens. And you used to literally wear this necklace and it had the token thing, and you would unscrew it when you need. Dog, I'm 12 years old. I'm on the Street Fighter game all day long. Dudes, grown ass men wanted to beat me up because they couldn't get me off the game. Because I had Ken, and that was it. Dog, I was like there's nothing you could do. You couldn't jump. My hands are too fast. But I will say this. I digress. I think one of the main reasons outside of games that Sonic is not ranked as high as Mario, people don't realize Nintendo was smart. Mario Kart saved Mario.
Yep.
If you take that away and Super Smash Brothers, you take all that away and you just look at straight games, I think Sonic has Mario. But Sega and the creators behind Sonic, they had no other main characters to put him with. So you couldn't put him with a Zelda. You couldn't put him with a Donkey. You couldn't just put him in a cart and just running around. He was built off of speed. It just didn't work. But literally single-handedly, I think Mario Kart saved the Mario platform because kids still play it now to this day.
And that's a great point. And I was going to bring this up earlier, is that when you're comparing them, one of the great things now about Mario and the games is there's so many different types of games that Mario has went into. Like we have a Nintendo Switch. One of my favorite games to play, especially with my wife and other people, is Mario Party. I freaking love Mario Party. Like I'll play that for hours. And so like there's so many different, there's Mario Tennis. They have like
the best is the baseball.
They have base, yes. So like
I'm so mad EA stopped making baseball games, bro. I think that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. But yeah, like Mario, they've been smart in expanding Mario outside of just that regular platform game. They've had him dive into different avenues and different types of gaming, which is now like you look around and like you can't not find a type of Mario game out there when no matter where you look. Yeah. So
all right, let's go. Let's go with this list, right?
All right, so no surprise, their number one is Mario. So this is where I'll get you guys to guess. Their number two is not Sonic. Is there any other guesses?
Zelda.
Yes, Link, Legend of Zelda. Number three is not Sonic, but we talked about this game tonight.
We did.
Yes.
And it's a character.
Yes.
But we talked about the game. See, if it's a newer game, I don't know the characters.
The most recent character out of the first three that we've talked about.
Why can't I? Halo?
For Master Chief?
Yes, Master Chief, yes.
There you go.
I think that's kind of high. It's kind of high.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of high. I didn't think he was. You say number three. I don't know. Like I'm talking about overall, I think Pikachu has kind of over. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like Pokemon is a big Huge cultural thing.
Pikachu was ranked 20th on this list.
20th?
20th. Wow.
Shows what I know. I would have thought
Yeah.
Pikachu was like top 10 at least.
All right, number 4 is from 1987. The first game came out.
I was 1 year old.
I was -9. I was -9.
I was 5.
Donkey Kong?
No, Donkey Kong is
1987.
Donkey Kong is 33.
Wow. There are some really
Or
So the
in
only
the
system
same
then was Nintendo. That was it.
the same
the-
video game realm, like a Pac-Man esque?
No. I'll give you it's a two-word name, and the second name, so his last name is the name of a slithering animal.
Solid Snake.
Yes, very good.
We talked about Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Solid Snake. Wow, he's 5? Or is it
No,
4?
That is high.
4.
That's high.
Well, the number 5, I don't even know who he is. I never played these games. From 97, the initials of the game are FF.
Fists of Fury.
No, Final.
Final Fantasy.
Fantasy?
Cloud.
Yes, I've never played that game.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
bro. I don't know what you're missing.
Oh, I'm sure it's good. I just I
Cosplay.
retired from video games like 10 years ago. I retired. 6. Kevin, you just talked about him.
Donkey Kong? No.
No.
He said he was in the 30s.
Also a nickname of a former football
Oh, Pac-Man?
Yes.
Oh, Pac-Man.
Adam Pac-Man Jones. 7. We're only gonna do top 10. 7 was played by Alicia Vikander, also Angelina
Tomb
Jolie.
Raider? Really?
Tomb
Who?
Raider, yeah. Tomb
Tomb
Raider?
Raider.
Yeah.
Lara Croft.
Yeah. 8 is from I don't even know Half-Life. Anyone play Half-Life?
I played Half-Life.
So
I've
never
for all the
played it.
Half-Life fans, Gordon Freeman. I don't know who that is, but he's 8. All right, this one's from 2005, a Sony game. Chucks.
What?
GOW. Those are it's 3 words. Those are the
What is
first
it?
GOW. Those are the initials.
God of War?
God of War.
Yes. Who's the character?
It's
know.
The end of the K.
Is it Kronos? Kronos?
Kronos.
Yeah,
someone-
Kratos, whatever.
Yeah,
Same thing.
yeah.
And then number 10
He's high. Wow, I didn't know that game was
is Sonic.
tennis.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, that's
was
some
wondering
disrespect
where
right
you-
there.
Are there any other games that or characters you want me to see where they're listed? I have a
Well, I
top-
mean,
I mean, the turtle's got to be on there somewhere.
the turtle. Ninja Turtles?
Yes.
Oh no, I don't see them.
At
how
all?
how about like the Street Fighter characters? I mean, like there's like okay, I'd say the titular. I don't know how you pronounce that. Character for Street Fighter would be Ryu. He's always usually the one on the cover. So is Ryu ranked on there?
No.
No, he's not. How about?
Oh yes, I'm sorry. He's 49. He's 49.
Made it.
Jesus.
Made it. What's the
How about
Metroid Prime character? What's her name?
Oh, Samus?
Samus. Yeah, her.
Yeah, 14.
Okay, so she just missed the top 10.
so
Yeah,
then you're talking about other Smash Brothers characters. What about like a Kirby?
18.
Kirby's 18.
So Luigi got to be on there.
I'll laugh if Luigi's not here.
Yeah, screwed.
He did have his own game.
Yeah, he's not on this. He's not on it.
He's not.
Wow.
They had Luigi's Mansion.
They did. Yeah, I remember. Yep.
Don says, "What about James Bond?"
Oh, yo, GoldenEye
That was probably that was probably one of the first person multiplayer shooters that I've ever played.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not on here just because.
He's part of Mario.
Who, James Bond?
No,
I think you meant
he-
Luigi.
Oh,
He-
no! I was talking about James Bond. I think
Oh,
they
you're
don't
talking
have James Bond on here. 'Cause he's technically a movie character.
Movie and the game was I see what you mean. Yusuf does ask how you guys feel about the Madden trailer. We kind of already touched on it, but it's the same old Madden. It's
Yeah.
same Madden that's been out for the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I
The
didn't
next- the
watch
next
the trailer.
relevant Madden. Yeah, me. I didn't. I watched a little bit, but I think the next relevant Madden game is the first one on PS5.
Probably, yeah, because this is the end of the console. So,
Yeah, I mean,
oh,
it's the
speaking of
one on
Madden
PS5.
trailers, the greatest Madden trailer ever was that Madden trailer with McNabb and To for the what was it? Was it the first Madden for the PS2 or PS3? Or Xbox?
05.
One of them. Do you remember?
That was 05, 06.
Yeah. Yeah, 5.
Do you remember the trailer I'm talking about where it's like snowy? It's against the Eagles Giants, and McNabb like scrambles, he throws a TO like runs and everything. See, that was like Madden in terms of Madden trailers. That was like one of the best. That was a great
Now
Madden.
that reminds me of, if you talk about great football games that they should come back with, is the NCAA games.
Everyone's
Yes.
talking about
Where-
it. I thought
where
they
you-
were coming back with them.
I haven't seen them come back.
I thought that's
Really
the
cool.
plan is. I'll look it up. I thought
They
that
might be.
yeah.
Because I remember you used to be able to do so much. The best part of that game was playing. I would play as Notre Dame because you could pick your schedule because they were independent, and then fight and then the couple years down the line get into a conference or whatever you want to call it, and you would then like whatever NCAA you had, you could literally take your team and then import them into Madden
Yeah.
and
That's the
like
number
draft
one.
your guys out.
I remember I got
Yeah.
NCAA a couple of times just for that to import my rosters into Madden. Yusuf does also ask, what are your feelings about EDP 445? Anyone?
Over the top. I mean, I would love to sit down with him and actually talk football instead of his antics.
Do you
know what I mean?
think
See
he
if he-
actually knows football? That's the question.
That's what I would want to find out. Do you actually know football, or are you just a hot take guy?
Yeah.
I mean, you're good at what you do because you capitalize on it and you're just so outlandish. But once you set that bar, no one's ever going to take you seriously.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you have a serious take and you want to sit down and have a conversation, you know what I mean? Hey, look, we'll be the first one to say here, Yusuf, tell him, doors open. Doors open. All he has to do is knock. Hell, I go knock on his door. He can come on anytime. He can come on any HD platform show.
Yeah.
I'd love to sit down and talk to him. You know what I mean? So get people to see a different side of him, whether he wants to talk football or, I mean, I don't need to see. I'm a big guy myself. You want to see me taking my shirt off and shit, or at least I got hair. You know what I mean? Whatever. So I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, he has his place. It depends on what you go looking for him for. If you're looking for a laugh, then obviously there you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like right now the Brandon Brooks injury. I mean, there's probably some people out there on YouTube who follow him. EDP 445. Brandon Brooks. He probably put a piece up already. I don't know. I don't follow like that, but that's his place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it all depends on what type of fan you are. If you're a short-term or long-term guy, you want to look at, clickbait, something quick and funny to laugh at while, you're sitting in the bathroom doing your business. Hey, that's where you go. But if you're looking for, real news, if you're looking for, people bringing you interviews and actual factual arguments and, debates of value both sides of the ball, then, we're here, and I love to have him in to see if he could, have that work and have that conversation, or if it is just, what he has been doing and have that clickbait.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you guys both said it. He's got his place, but he's not someone I look to. I'd rather, if I'm going to use my time to listen or watch people talk football. It's not going to be him. I'm going to listen and watch people that actually increase my knowledge of football and actually have intellectual conversations. I don't. He's not my cup of tea. But hey, maybe for some people who want to laugh, who want just entertainment, maybe that's exactly what you're looking for, and EDP is your guy. But not for me. And I just hope that people realize that and don't think that his opinions or takes on real football or anything that should be credited in terms of knowledge and insightful. So that's our MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say real quick is that, if people realize it's a character, and like to Kevin and Pete's point, if they're going there for entertainment, then yeah, cool. He's doing his thing. We're doing ours. I do think, just because I know people who know him, that he does know football, but that he's choosing to our point from earlier, he's choosing to go the more, dramatic entertainment route than the knowledge part. That's fine. He's doing his thing, and he's obviously got his fan base. But, if he ever chose, and I don't think he ever has, but if he ever chose to, take the stance that he was knowledgeable, or if he was taking that route, then, obviously that's not what he's trying to do. So, no, he's doing his thing. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I don't even watch it. I don't even go out of my way to look at any of it. Even, that's just not my style. If
Yeah.
I'm going to sit down and watch anything, my biggest thing outside of us, obviously, has been gearing up for fantasy football. And the guys over at Empty Wagon, fantasy football podcast and Fantasy Sports Alliance have a lot of great takes as far as rosters and how that pertains to fantasy sports, which I'm painfully a part of too many leagues again this year. So that's where I spend my time versus the clickbait.
You are the rookie in my league. We brought you in my league, and for this year with the baby coming and everything, I'm only doing one league this year. I've 2 years ago I was doing like 6. Last year I did 2 to tone it down because of the wedding, and now I'm only down to 1. I never thought I'd be this guy, and I guess we can kind of close out with fantasy football talk real quick, because we will have with my league we have like a council that we discuss all like the league every year. So we have our council meeting on Thursday to talk about this upcoming year. But I used to be so diehard like a fantasy football guy, but over the past 2-3 years, it's kind of died down. Like I've, I've kind of gotten. I still love it, but I'm not as invested in it as I was before.
Okay.
I think that I look for and I want to make this clear. There's no right or wrong, but when you talk about fantasy football guys, they approach and look at football a different way, and being part of that, it was very difficult for me to remove myself from that mindset. And when I went into the scouting academy and really started to learn about film breakdown, it's a totally different set of what you're looking at and how you watch football. And it's difficult to be able to separate the two, because where with fantasy football it's numbers game. With football, with film, it's totally opposite. It's not about the numbers. It's about what do you see on the football field, and what are you looking at besides all those stats. So it's really weird. But hey, I still love fantasy football, and I'll be doing my league for 30 years. I'll never stop playing. But it's weird seeing my mindset and how I've diverted so much from being a guy who's in 5 or 6 fantasy leagues to now I'm just doing 1 or 2.
Right.
So it's just a thing, and I hope people out there just keep that in mind when you're talking about fantasy football. That's why, like, don't judge how good a player is in real life football by their fantasy stats.
Yes.
Just because so and so running back is the number 2 ranked running back in fantasy football and wins you your league doesn't mean that he's the second best running back in the league in real real life. It's a good. You gotta make sure you know how to separate the two. So
Don's got to know that pretty well with the Matt Stafford effect. Put up all kinds of yards, ain't gonna win you nothing.
it's
So
it's like Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles was a solid fantasy QB, but if you really watch football, he was horrible. It was so bad. So Yusef asked one last question for Chucks and Pete. What would your reaction be if Howie drafts another QB? What if he trades 2 firsts for a top QB like Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, or Trey Lance? I'm not even going to touch on that because I'm not even going to want to think about that. So, Pete, if you want to answer the question, and then I'll close us out. I know Yusef. Oh, no, it was Don. I want to answer this question some other night because this is a loaded question. Who are your top 5 fan bases in the NFL? And I'm glad you asked that because that's a good topic that we could use in another week upcoming. So thank you for asking that. But that's too loaded of a question to do in 1 minute. So we'll definitely address that in another show. But Pete, if you want to talk that, close out.
So the very first thing that comes to my mind when I look at that, Yusuf, is what the hell happened to Carson Wentz for us to be in that position in the first place? Did he get traded somewhere? Did he get injured again? I would be concerned. I mean, that's not just off the top of my head. The very first thing is I would be concerned because something had to lead us down that road for him to do something like that. And then,
I think it's.
Go ahead, Kev.
I think it's simple. It's just you guys are you're the quarterback factory now. You don't have a choice. You already went down that road.
Cutting, kick him out. But
you shut your mouth, Kevin. You shut your mouth.
You guys have already accepted the title quarterback factory. You're going to draft everyone.
Nothing. We accepted nothing. Our friggin' GM that's taking that could have been an offensive lineman. That could have been another receiver.
Could have.
Very well could have. All right, now
had enough.
So Yusuf, besides the question you posed leads me right to Kev's point. If we are the QB factory, Wentz goes down. Why the hell are we using 2-1s when we got Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, that's another question.
If we got to that point, I don't know Howie must be sitting in the Starbucks with Sam Hinkie somewhere, and they're sharing a coffee and a scone. So,
oh God, God, I am never using QB Factory. That's like the term dream team for me right now. I do not want to even acknowledge that when it comes to the Eagles, but I have a feeling we're not gonna be living that down for a while. So, before anything else, guys, before we head out for tonight.
Nah, man. Hey, we kind of talked about it. It was a couple weeks ago with everything that's going on socially. We all know things have happened this past weekend. Finding people being hung. Rashard Brooks, Toya out of Tallahassee, activist, now found murdered with a 75-year-old. Listen, man, just everybody value their life like you value your own. Everybody should get treated with the golden rule. We'll get through this. And let's not forget, dog, COVID is still out there. All this other bullshit that's going on, you can still get COVID-19. Yes, hospitalizations are down and they're getting some better treatments. But listen, from what I've heard, we've seen Tom, his boy has in Florida, says he got 6 or 7 blankets on. He's still freezing. So it's not something that you want to go through. So everybody just be safe, stay healthy, be well, love each other, respect each other. And we'll see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just stay safe, guys. Like things are starting to open back up again, at least in Jersey. I know that's the case. It's slowly opening up, which is great, but just please be safe. We're not out of the woods yet, guys. So wear your masks. I know it's tough. It's tough to wear them, but it's not only for your sake, but it's for those around you. Be courteous and respect each other, like Pete said. So just be careful. Let's be smart about this so we can get out of the woods and eventually somewhere down the line in a few months we can be at a place where this is all behind us. So,
Yes.
if you guys have anything else before we go, Kevin?
Kevin.
Nope.
Nothing.
Not
All
for
right,
me.
guys, good show. Like I said, hopefully next week we will have Chrome back, and we'll see what our topics will be. Maybe we'll do bracket. We haven't done a bracket all summer, all spring. I mean, summer just started. What am I talking about? All spring. We haven't done brackets. So we'll do a bracket of top fan bases or something like that. We'll see. We'll talk about it, and we will see you next week. This was Birds of a Feather, brought to you by our doc, Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy LLC, by Ambuck Services Gutter Cleaning, QB54, the best tailgating game in the business. Visit them at playqb54shop.com, and then Philly Jinkers, phillyjinkers.com. Get your ADD merchandise, including the QB Factory shirt and the show shirts. Support your shows on A2D. You've got The Fix and AM in the PM. I don't know if you guys are doing a joint show tomorrow again or not, but
Yep.
you are. Joint show again tomorrow night. You got Lazy Booking and Hockey Happy Hour. You got the new show On the Road to Victory with Jimmy Smith. You got Kicking It Stateside is back on Saturday, along with Weekly Roundup and In This Very Ring. Sunday, we got the flagship, Agree to Disagree. And then Mondays, the Rundown and Sports Hounds. And we will be back at you again on Tuesday. Remember, download us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. Download your podcast, rate and review. We would love your feedback, guys, and we love your support. Again, we thank you so much, all of you who tune in. Thank you so much for listening. We love you guys. Stay safe. God bless, and we will see you next week.